Hey, it's me, Clara. I'm 28, same as my twin Mira, and people always said we were like two halves of the same soul. Same dark hair, same green eyes, same laugh when we were kids. But life pulled us in different directions, and now? God, now I can't even recognize the girl in the photos they plaster everywhere. This all started with a text that lit my phone up at 2:17 a.m. I still remember the exact time because I was halfway through a spreadsheet, chasing numbers that didn't add up for some shady client. The message was just 6 words. I can't do this anymore. See, that was Mira, my Mira, the one who used to steal my clothes and blame me for everything, the one who married Ethan Hawthorne 3 years ago and disappeared into that marble palace on the cliff. I hadn't seen her in months. Video calls only, always with Ethan hovering in the background, smiling like a shark. But that text? It wasn't a joke. It was a scream. I need to take you back a little, to the day everything cracked open for me. I flew in from the city where I do my forensic accounting thing. Digging through lies, people hide in balance sheets. I told myself I was just checking on her, nothing dramatic. But the second the gates of the Hawthorne estate swung open, I felt it. Like walking into a museum where everything's perfect and nothing's allowed to breathe. The mansion's huge, all glass and white stone. Roses lined up like soldiers. Staff in crisp uniforms greeted me at the door, took my bag, asked if I wanted sparkling or still. I said, still? They wrote it down. I laughed. Nervous habit, and the girl smiled like she'd been trained to. I asked for Mira. They said Mrs. Hawthorne was at breakfast review. Breakfast review? Who has that? I found her in the dining room, sitting ramrod straight at a table that could seat 20. Ethan was at the head, scrolling his phone. Lydia, his sister, the influencer, was filming with a ring light clipped to her water glass. And Margaret, Ethan's mom, sat like a queen with a tablet in her lap. Mira looked tiny. Her collarbone stuck out under the silk blouse. Her hands shook when she reached for the coffee. I started toward her, but Margaret's voice cut through the air. Ring. Mira froze. Her left hand was bare. I saw the panic flash across her face. She glanced at the stairs, like she could sprint up and grab it. But Margaret was already typing. -2, Margaret said, calm as ordering toast. Forgetting your commitment symbol in front of family. Ethan didn't look up. You'll make it up tonight, sweetheart. Lydia giggled, angling the camera. Don't worry, Mira. We'll blur the panic eyes. Maybe. I stood there in the doorway, my stomach twisting. Mira saw me then. Her eyes, God, they were hollow. She tried to smile, but it wobbled and died. I took a step forward, ready to hug her, yell, something. But Ethan finally glanced up. Clara, he said, all charm. Perfect timing. Mira's getting her new safety phone. He slid a rose gold box across the table. Mira opened it like it might bite her. Inside was a phone, sleek, expensive. Probably worth more than my car. GPS, heartbeat monitor, everything, Ethan said, proud. So I always know she's safe. She's been so clumsy lately. Clumsy. Right. I'd seen the bruise on her arm last video call, shaped like fingers. She'd called it a door. Mira whispered, "Thank you." And Lydia zoomed in. Say it for the vlog, Mira. Tell the girls how lucky you are. Mira looked straight into the lens. I'm very lucky. Margaret nodded. Posture, Mira. Shoulders back. I wanted to scream. Instead, I smiled, fake, tight, and said, Can I steal my sister for a walk later? Margaret didn't even look at me. Approved schedule only. 10 a.m. Garden doors, unlock. The rest of breakfast was torture. Mira ate every bite of her 400-calorie plate. Drank every drop. When she stood, her chair scraped. Margaret typed, -1, noise disturbance. I followed Mira upstairs after, my heart hammering. She closed the bedroom door, locked it, pointless, and leaned against it like it was holding her up. "You shouldn't have come," she whispered. "Are you kidding? Look at you." She laughed, but it sounded like crying. "I'm fine, just tired." "You're disappearing." I grabbed her wrists, too thin, pulse racing under my thumbs. "What the hell is going on?" She pulled away, went to the window. The ocean glittered below the cliff, all blue and fake cheerful. "It's not that bad. They just care a lot." "Care?" I hissed. "They're grading you like a dog in a show." She flinched. "Don't, please. Ethan says—" "Ethan says a lot of things." I was shaking now. "Mira, talk to me." But the door opened. Ethan smiling. "Lydia needs Mira for a brand shoot, country club. You can tag along, Clara. Family bonding." Mira's face went blank. Obedient. She slipped past me like a ghost. The shoot was hell. Lydia made her hold a teacup for 40 minutes. "Smile like you're grateful." When Mira's hand shook and tea spilled, Lydia sighed. "Cut. Mira, you're ruining everything." She posted it anyway. Etiquette goals. Comments calling Mira relatable. I watched my sister shrink smaller and smaller. That night was dinner with investors. Mira in navy silk, pearls, heels that pinched. Ethan kissed her cheek for the cameras. Called her his rock. After dessert, she excused herself. Powder room? I saw Ethan follow. 2 minutes later, she came back, pale, eyes red. He tucked her hair behind her ear. Gentle. Terrifying. I cornered her in the hallway later. What did he say? Nothing. I wasn't feeling well. "Mira, please, Clara, just go home." But I couldn't. I slept in the guest wing, staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment. At 1 a.m., I snuck to her room. She was sitting on the floor, knees to chest, wedding ring clutched in her fist. "I forgot it again," she whispered. "After breakfast. I went back for it and, I don't know, I was running down the stairs and my heel caught. Or maybe—" She trailed off, eyes distant. "Maybe what?" She shook her head. "Doesn't matter." I took the ring from her hand. The diamond was cracked clean through. "This fell off when you fell?" She nodded. "Ethan says I need to be more careful." Careful? I felt rage boiling under my skin, but I swallowed it. "Pack a bag. We're leaving." "I can't." Her voice broke. "They'll find me. The phone. The trackers. We'll figure it out." She looked at me then. Really looked. "You don't get it. They'll destroy you, too." I was about to answer when my phone buzzed in my pocket. A new text from her old hidden phone. The one Ethan didn't know about. Stairs weren't an accident. I stared at the screen, then at the shattered ring on the floor, my sister's blood under one fingernail where she'd clawed the marble trying to stop her fall. That's when I knew. This wasn't a cage. It was a slow murder, and I wasn't leaving without her. I drove away from the estate that afternoon with the gates clanging shut behind me like a jail door. My hands were clenched so tight on the wheel, the knuckles went white. Mira's cracked ring was in my pocket. The diamond split like a tiny scream. I got 3 miles down the coast road, pulled into a gas station, and just sat there, shaking. Then I turned the car around. No way was I leaving her in that place another night. The sun was dipping into the ocean when I circled back. I parked behind the delivery vans at the service gate, slipped the little digital recorder into my bra. Tiny thing, voice-activated, the kind I use for client interviews. And waited. At 6:12, the seafood truck rolled in for the dinner party. I flashed the driver a smile, said I was Mira's assistant dropping off a forgotten purse. He barely glanced at me. Twins, right? I walked straight through the kitchen chaos, head down, heart hammering so loud I swore the recorder would pick it up. Mira was already in the dining room when I slipped into the butler's pantry. Through the crack in the door, I could see her at the long table, hands folded in her lap like a schoolgirl. The room smelled of rosemary and money. Crystal glasses caught the chandelier light and threw it back in sharp little knives. Ethan sat at the head, laughing with some investor. Margaret was to his right. Tablet glowing. Lydia had her phone on a mini tripod. Red light blinking. Live. I pressed record. Dinner started smooth. Staff in white gloves, plates sliding in and out like clockwork. Mira's portion was tiny. Salmon the size of a credit card, 3 asparagus spears, a dollop of something foamy. She ate carefully, fork trembling, just enough that I noticed. Nobody else did. Then it happened. The wine glass. Ethan was pouring for the guest on his left, talking numbers, billions, whatever. Mira reached for her water at the same moment. Her sleeve caught the stem. The glass tipped, red wine bleeding across the white linen like a wound. Silence dropped so hard I felt it in my teeth. Mira froze. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "It was an accident." Margaret didn't even look up from her tablet. "Neil." Just like that. One word. Mira slid from her chair. The marble was cold. I saw her knees hit it through the crack. Her dress pooled around her like spilled ink. The investor coughed into his napkin. Ethan kept pouring, steady, like nothing was happening. Lydia zoomed in. "Perfect teaching moment, everyone," she chirped to her live stream. "Accidents happen, but a Hawthorne wife owns them with grace. Mira, apologize properly." Mira's voice was barely air. "I'm sorry for my clumsiness. I'll do better," Margaret typed. -5. Public disturbance. Kneel until dessert. Dessert was 40 minutes away. I stood there in the dark pantry, recorder burning against my skin, and felt something inside me snap and rewire at the same time. Mira's shoulders shook just once. Lydia narrated the whole thing. "See how she keeps her back straight? Posture is everything, ladies." Comments scrolled across her screen. "So elegant. Goals. She's shaking, though?" Staff glided past me with the next course, eyes forward, trained not to see. One girl, maybe 19, met my gaze for half a second. Pity flashed, then fear. She hurried on. Mira stayed on her knees the whole main course. When they finally let her up, her stockings were torn at the knee, a tiny bead of blood where the marble had bitten. Ethan patted her cheek like she was a dog who'd learned a trick. Good girl. I waited until the investors left, until the house quieted to that fake peaceful hum. Then I texted Mira from the pantry phone. "Bathroom. Now." She came 10 minutes later, face scrubbed of makeup, eyes swollen. The guest bath off the West Hall. Marble, gold faucets, mirror that takes up a whole wall. She locked the door behind her and just folded. I caught her before she hit the floor. "Clara," she sobbed into my shoulder. "You came back." "Shh." I held her so tight I felt her ribs. She was burning up and ice cold at the same time. I saw everything. I recorded it. She pulled away, panicked. "You can't. They'll find it. They find everything." "Not this." I showed her the tiny recorder. "Encrypted. Cloud backup the second I'm out of range. Mira, we're leaving? Tonight." She laughed, but it came out broken. "You don't get it. The gates, the trackers, the cameras. Ethan has an alert if I'm gone more than 10 minutes. And, Margaret," her voice cracked. "She has a file, says I'm unstable. If I try to leave, they'll lock me in a clinic. They'll say I'm crazy." I cupped her face. "Then we outsmart them." She searched my eyes, desperate. "How?" "I don't know yet, but I'm not leaving you here to kneel on marble while they film it for likes." Footsteps in the hall. We both froze. Ethan's voice, low, calling her name. Mira's breath hitched. She wiped her face, straightened her spine like a switch flipped. "Go," she whispered. Guest wing. Third door. I'll come when they're asleep. I slipped out the side door, heart in my throat. The guest wing was dark, curtains drawn. I sat on the edge of the bed, recorder in my fist, replaying the dinner in my head. Mira on her knees, Lydia's smile, Margaret's cold -5. At 2:07 a.m., the door opened. Mira, barefoot, carrying a small flashlight. She locked it behind her and leaned against it like the first time. "I can't sleep," she said. "Every time I close my eyes, I feel the marble." I pulled her down beside me. "Tell me everything." She did. The demerit charts, the 400-calorie plates, the way Ethan checked her phone every night, the bruises she hid with long sleeves, and the file, thick, locked in his study drawer. Psychological instability, Mira Hawthorne, forged signatures from doctors she'd never met. "I found it last month," she whispered. He left the drawer open, thought I was too drugged on the sleeping pills to notice. I was already thinking 3 steps ahead. "We need that file." She shook her head. "Impossible. Biometric lock." "Then we get creative." I took her hands. "Mira, look at me. You're not crazy. You're surviving." Tears rolled down her cheeks. "I don't know how much longer I can." I was about to answer when she went rigid. "Listen." Footsteps. Slow. Ethan's. He stopped outside the door, knocked once, soft. "Mira, you in there?" She clapped a hand over her mouth. I slid off the bed, pressed myself against the wall. The knob turned, locked. Another knock. "I know you're upset about dinner," he said through the door, voice syrupy. "Come to bed. We'll talk." Mira's eyes were huge. She mouthed, "Go." I shook my head. Not without her. He waited 30 seconds, then sighed. Footsteps retreated. We both exhaled. Mira sagged. "You can't save me," she whispered. "They'll destroy you too." I pulled her close again, felt her heartbeat racing against mine. "Watch me." But as I said it, I slipped into Ethan's study on my way back to the guest wing. Door ajar, just a crack. Moonlight sliced across the desk. The drawer was open. I don't know what made me look. Curiosity, rage, instinct. I eased it wider. There it was, thick manila folder, red label in Margaret's perfect handwriting. Psychological instability, Mira Hawthorne. I didn't touch it, just stared. My sister's life, reduced to a weapon. That's when I knew. This wasn't about running anymore. It was about switching the game. 3:47 a.m. The house was finally asleep, or at least pretending to be. Only the low hum of the security system and the distant crash of waves against the cliff. I'd been counting minutes on my phone since Mira's last text. Closet. Now, my pulse hadn't slowed since I'd seen that file in Ethan's drawer. Psychological instability. Mira Hawthorne. The words burned behind my eyes like a brand. I slipped down the hallway in socks, the marble cold under my feet. Mira's bedroom door was cracked open, a sliver of flashlight glow spilling out. I pushed inside and locked it behind me. She was already in the walk-in closet, kneeling on the plush carpet, a small duffel open beside her. The air smelled of her perfume, something soft and expensive that now felt like chains. "We're really doing this," she whispered. Her voice shook, but her hands were steady as she pulled out jeans, a hoodie, sneakers, my clothes, the ones I'd worn when I arrived, now folded like contraband. I knelt across from her. "You still have the ticket?" She nodded, patted the pocket of the hoodie. "Printed at the library last week. Glasgow. Then a bus to the Highlands. New name, new SIM. Cash only." Her eyes flicked to the door. "Delivery truck comes at 4:30 for the bakery run. Driver owes me. He lost his sister to a guy like Ethan. Said he'd look the other way." I exhaled. We'd planned this in frantic whispers after she'd found me in the guest wing. Every detail mapped like one of my forensic audits. But planning and doing are different animals. She handed me a silk robe, pale blue, monogrammed MH. Your turn. We moved fast. I stripped out of my jeans and sweater, folded them into the duffel. Mira peeled off the silk nightgown she'd worn to fool the bedroom cameras, traded it for my clothes. Her ribs showed when she lifted her arms. I bit the inside of my cheek to keep from making a sound. She pulled my hair tie out, shook her waves loose, then twisted them into the low bun I'd worn all day. I did the same with hers, parted in the middle, tucked behind the ears, just like Margaret demanded. Makeup next. She wiped hers off with a cloth, handed me the foundation. 2 shades too light, she muttered. They'll notice if you don't. I smoothed it over my cheeks, my throat, the hollows under my eyes. My hands didn't shake. Not yet. Mira watched, biting her lip. Your posture, she said. Slump a little. Look down when you walk. And the ring. Don't forget it. She slid the cracked diamond onto my finger. It fit perfectly, of course. The split caught the flashlight beam like a tiny lightning bolt. We stood, twins again. Same height, same face, same tremor in the knees. She zipped the duffel, slung it over her shoulder. 4 minutes. I grabbed her wrist. Mira, once you're in that truck, don't look back. Don't call. Don't text. Not until you're over the border. She nodded, eyes shining. And you? Don't let them break you. I'm not the one they've been breaking for 3 years. She hugged me so hard I felt her heartbeat through the hoodie. Then she was gone, slipping out the service door like a shadow. I heard the soft click of the latch, the faint crunch of gravel under sneakers. Then, nothing. I stood in the closet alone, the silk robe cool against my skin. The full-length mirror waited at the end of the racks. I walked to it slowly, like approaching a cliff. There I was, Mira, pale, hollow-cheeked, eyes too big for the face. The robe hung loose where her body had filled it out once. I lifted a hand, watched it tremble. For a second, I saw her fear in my own reflection. Shoulders curling inward, chin tucked. My stomach lurched. Then I straightened. Shoulders back, chin up. I stared until the fear blurred into something harder. Resolve. I wasn't Mira, not really. I was the weapon she'd never been allowed to be. From now on, I whispered to the mirror, I am Mira. The bedroom felt different when I stepped out. Bigger, colder. The king bed with its mountain of pillows. The vanity where her brushes sat in perfect rows. I slid into the bed, pulled the covers to my chin, and waited. The sheets smelled like her, lavender and fear. I must have dozed, because the next thing I knew, the door opened. Soft footsteps. Ethan's cologne cut through the dark. He stood over the bed, silhouette against the hallway light. I kept my breathing slow, even. Mira's breathing. His hand settled on my hair, stroked once, twice, gentle, possessive. Welcome home, he murmured. My skin crawled, but I didn't move, didn't flinch. Inside, I was cataloging every detail, the weight of his hand, the whiskey on his breath, the way his thumb brushed my temple like he owned it. He left as quietly as he came. The door clicked shut. I lay there in the dark, heart hammering so loud I was sure the hidden cameras would catch it. I turned my head slowly, eyes adjusting. Eyes. There, tiny red light in the smoke detector. Another in the framed photo on the dresser. Bedroom fully wired, of course. I reached under the pillow where Mira had stashed her old phone, the one without the tracker. The screen lit up. One new text from an unknown number. On the road. Don't be a hero. Love you. M. I deleted it, powered the phone off, and slid it into the robe pocket. Then I closed my eyes and practiced Mira's flinch, her soft, sorry, her silence. Tomorrow, breakfast at 7, the wife's code, the grading, the cameras, Tomorrow, I'd start counting their sins. But tonight, I let the robe slip off my shoulders and stared at the ceiling until the red lights blurred. I wasn't sleeping in this bed. I was infiltrating it. And somewhere out there, my sister was finally running free. The 6:30 a.m. piano notes floated in like a lullaby you can't wake up from. I let my eyes stay closed an extra 3 seconds, then forced my body to sit up the way Mira did, slow, shoulders rounded, like the mattress was made of lead. The silk sheets slid off me and pooled at my waist. I counted to 5 before swinging my legs over the edge. Every move had to look exhausted, defeated. Inside, I was wide awake and cataloging. I padded to the bathroom, flicked the light. The mirror showed Mira's face, my face now, puffy from pretend crying, skin dull. Good. I brushed my teeth exactly 30 strokes, rinsed, spat. The new phone sat charging on the counter, rose gold case gleaming. I tapped it awake. The tracking app blinked. Location shared with Ethan. Always on. A little heart icon pulsed. Cute. Downstairs smelled of coffee and control. The dining room table was already set. Margaret at her throne with the tablet. Ethan scrolling stock prices. Lydia angling her phone for the morning glow-up story. I slipped into my chair, hands folded in my lap. Morning, I mumbled, voice small. Margaret's eyes flicked up. Ring. I lifted my left hand. The cracked diamond caught the light. Sorry, I forgot after last night. She typed. -1. Recite. I swallowed. The wife's code. Mira had whispered it to me in the closet. Word for word. Like a prayer she hated. I started, voice barely above the clink of silverware. A hawthorn wife rises with grace, speaks with purpose, honors her husband in all things. Each line felt like swallowing sand. Margaret watched me over the tablet, lips thin. I caught the tiny twitch at the corner of her mouth when I said, obeys without question. Satisfaction. I filed it away. Ethan didn't look up, but his foot nudged mine under the table. Approval or warning, hard to tell. Surin reflects the family's perfection in every breath. I finished, throat raw. Margaret nodded once. Posture still needs work. Shoulders back. Lydia zoomed in on my plate. Poached egg, half grapefruit, black coffee. Eat up, Mira. We've got the spring line launch at noon. You're modeling the obedience collection. She winked at her followers. I ate every bite. The grapefruit was sour enough to make my eyes water. Perfect. The launch was at the flagship store downtown. Glass walls, white orchids, influencers sipping champagne at 11 a.m. Lydia had me in a cream silk dress, neckline high, hem brushing my ankles. Modest but sexy, she said, pinning a brooch shaped like a lock over my heart. The runway was short, just a platform in the middle of the room. Lydia narrated while I walked. Slow, eyes down, hands clasped. See how Mira carries herself? Quiet strength. That's what Hawthorne wives embody. A reporter asked, Mira, how do you stay so disciplined? I opened my mouth, but Lydia cut in. She doesn't speak unless spoken to by family. Rule number 3. Laughter rippled. My cheeks burned, but I smiled. Mira's tight, polite smile. Backstage, Lydia adjusted my hair, nails digging into my scalp. You hesitated on the turn. Do it again, and I'll make you walk barefoot next time. I nodded. Yes, Lydia. She posted the clip anyway. Me stumbling slightly, her voiceover. Even perfection takes practice. Comments flooded. So inspiring. She's shaking again, LOL. I slipped my hand into the dress pocket, thumbed the recorder on. Every insult, every command, saved. Evening slid in like a bruise. Ethan had a dinner meeting, came home late, whiskey on his breath. I was in the bedroom, pretending to read one of the approved books, some self-help garbage about submission. The door opened without a knock. He stood there in his shirt sleeves, tie loose, eyes glassy, bed. I set the book down, slow. Yes, Ethan. He watched me undress, fold the silk robe, slide under the covers. The cameras blinked red in the corners. He climbed in beside me, hand heavy on my hip. "You were quiet today," he said. "Good." I said nothing. He rolled over, but sleep didn't come for him. At 1:12 a.m., he sat up, flicked on the bedside lamp. "Get up." I obeyed. The carpet was thick under my bare feet. He went to the dresser, pulled out a leather-bound notebook. The Manual of Obedience. Mira had described it, handwritten, pages worn from use. "Kneel." I sank to my knees. The robe pooled around me. He opened the book, voice thick. "Read." I took it with both hands. The pages smelled of ink and control. Rule 7 stared up at me. When the husband is silent, the wife must be silent. I read it aloud, voice steady. He watched, breathing hard. Rule 9. I turned the page. If the husband is disappointed, the wife must punish herself with 24 hours of silence. Again, I read it, again, and again, until the words blurred. My knees ached, but I didn't shift. Inside, I was memorizing every line, every smudge of his pen. Evidence. He finally closed the book, cupped my chin. "You're learning." I looked up at him, eyes wide, Mira's eyes. But in the mirror across the room, I caught my reflection, spine straight, jaw set. My eyes weren't hers anymore. They were harder, sharper. He didn't notice. He never did. He climbed back into bed, turned off the light. Sleep. I stayed on my knees a minute longer, counting heartbeats. Then I stood, slow, and slid the recorder from under the mattress, still running. I stopped it, saved the file. Tomorrow I'd find a way to get it out. In the dark, I looked at the mirror again. The woman kneeling wasn't the victim anymore. She was the reckoning. 2:47 a.m. Ethan's snores were steady, deep, the kind that come after too much whiskey and a day of being king. I lay on my back, eyes open in the dark, the old USB key warm in my palm under the pillow. Mira had pressed it into my hand during the switch. Old token from when I still had access. Don't lose it. I hadn't. Now it felt like a live wire. I waited another 3 minutes, counting his breaths. Then I slid out of bed, bare feet silent on the carpet. The bedroom door opened without a creak. I'd oiled it earlier with lotion from the bathroom. Hallway was dim, motion sensors off after midnight. I moved like a ghost to Ethan's study, the one place in the house that smelled like leather and secrets. His desk was a fortress, biometric lock, 2-factor, the works. But Mira's token was admin level, pre-marriage. I plugged it into the side port of his desktop. The screen woke with a soft glow. Password prompt. I held my breath. First guess, Mira's birthday. Denied. Second, their wedding date. Denied. Third, Margaret's maiden name plus the year Hawthorne Holdings went public. The cursor blinked, then the desktop unfolded. I exhaled so quietly it barely stirred the air. Small victory, heartbeat in my ears. I opened the corporate drive, folders nested like Russian dolls. Charity, real estate, offshore. I clicked offshore. Password again. I tried the Manual of Obedience. Rule 9 disappoint. Nothing. Then I remembered Lydia's brand password she'd bragged about once. Perfect Wife 2022. It worked. Files spilled open. Wire transfers. Hundreds of them. I scrolled, each one a held breath. $2.3 million to Coral Shell LLD, Caymans. 1.8 to Blue Wave Holdings, same address. Dates matched charity galas. Donations that never reached the kids' hospital. I dragged them to an encrypted folder on the USB. Copying, 12%. 27%. Footsteps. Soft. Down the hall. I froze. Ethan? No. Lighter. Lydia's heels were sharper. I minimized everything, slid the chair back exactly 2 inches, how he left it. The door handle turned. I ducked behind the desk, heart slamming against ribs. Lydia's voice muffled through the crack. "Ethan said lock the study. He's paranoid since the gala leak last year." Margaret's reply, cold. "He should be." The lock clicked. I was trapped. I waited, crouched in the dark, knees aching. 10 minutes, 20. Finally, the house settled again. I eased the door, locked from outside. Damn, but the window was cracked for the ocean breeze. I opened it wider, slipped out onto the balcony, dropped to the garden below. Roses scratched my arms. I didn't care. Back in the bedroom, Ethan still snored. I plugged the USB into Mira's old laptop, hidden in the false bottom of her jewelry box, and finished the download. Then I opened the call logs. Ethan's office line. Last night, 11:47 p.m. I hit play. Ethan's voice, low. "The Cayman's account is clean. Route the next batch through the charity auction. Margaret's signing off." A man's voice, accent thick. "And the wife? She's still asking questions?" Ethan laughed. "Mira? She's too scared to breathe without permission. The psych file's ready if she tries." Click. I sat back, bile in my throat. The psych file. I searched the drive, found it under personal contingency. Mira Hawthorne, psychological evaluation, signed by 3 doctors, dates I knew she'd never visited, notes, delusional, suicidal ideation, recommend inpatient, forged, all of it. I copied everything, encrypted it with a password only Mira and I knew, our childhood dog's name, plus the day we buried him. Then I hid the USB in the lining of my bra, the one place they never checked. Morning came too fast. I was in the kitchen, pouring coffee with shaking hands, when Ethan wandered in. He kissed my cheek, casual. "Sleep okay?" I nodded, eyes down. "Yes." He opened his study door, froze. "Who's been in here?" Margaret appeared behind him, tablet glowing. "Cameras show nothing. You probably left it open." He wasn't convinced. I sipped my coffee, heart racing. That afternoon, I was in the study again. Ethan at a meeting, Margaret at the club. I needed more. The charity accounts. I opened the folder, scrolling fast. Fake invoices, shell companies. And there, internal emails. Ethan to Margaret. "If Mira talks, use the file. She'll be discredited before lunch." I was so deep in the numbers, I didn't hear the door. "Mira!" Margaret's voice cut the air like ice. I spun. She stood in the doorway, eyes narrow, tablet in hand. "What are you doing at Ethan's computer?" I closed the window too late. The screen still showed the Cayman's transfers. I was looking for the grocery list," I stammered, channeling Mira's panic. She stepped closer, gaze flicking to the USB port. "Empty now." I'd palmed it. "You're not allowed in here." "I'm sorry." I stood, hands trembling. "I'll go." She blocked the door. "Ethan will hear about this." I nodded, eyes on the floor, but as I passed her, I caught her reflection in the window, lips pressed thin, calculating. She didn't know I'd already backed everything up. Twice. Hidden in the safe behind the false panel in my closet. The game just got tighter. Breakfast the next morning tasted like ash. Margaret's eyes were colder than usual, tablet glowing like a judge's gavel. Ethan sipped his coffee, watching me over the rim. Lydia burst in late, phone in one hand, latte in the other, and announced the new rule like she was revealing a fashion trend. "From tonight, staff will check Mira's sleeping posture every hour," she said, scrolling her feed. "Photos, flash on. We need to make sure she's resting elegantly. No sprawled limbs, no open mouth. I'll post the best ones. Anonymous, of course. Hawthorne sleep goals." I kept my face blank. Fork paused over the grapefruit. Inside, something boiled. Ethan nodded approval. Good, she's been tossing lately. Margaret typed. -2 for nighttime wandering. We discussed this. I mumbled, sorry, and ate the rest in silence. The maid who cleared my plate avoided my eyes. That night, the flashes started at 11:03 p.m. White light slicing through the dark, camera click, loud as a gunshot. I lay on my back, arms at my sides, eyes open until the door closed. Hour 2, same. By 3 a.m., I was rigid, every muscle screaming. Ethan slept through it, one arm thrown over me like a chain. I waited until the house quieted again, then slipped the recorder from under the mattress, still running. Every flash, every order, captured. The dinner party was 2 nights later. 50 guests, crystal dripping from the ceiling, waiters in white gloves. I wore the emerald dress Lydia picked, tight, high-necked, no room to breathe. The table groaned with lobster and lies. Lydia held court at one end, live-streaming snippets. See how Mira sits? Spine straight, hands folded. Perfection. Halfway through the main course, she leaned over, voice syrupy. Heard you were wandering again, Mira. Study? At night? Ethan's computer isn't a toy. Guests chuckled, thinking it was a joke. Ethan's eyes narrowed. Margaret's fork paused. I smiled small. I was looking for a pen. Lydia laughed too loud. A pen, in the dark. How unstable. She turned to the table. Remember when she fell down the stairs? Clumsy and confused. We're thinking of getting her checked again. The word unstable hung in the air. A guest shifted uncomfortably. I felt the recorder in my clutch, thumb on the button. Lydia kept going. Honestly, some wives just can't handle the pressure, right, Mira? My hand moved before my brain caught up. The slap cracked across her cheek, sharp and clean. The room froze. Lydia's head snapped back, eyes wide. Red bloomed on her skin. Silence, then gasps. A phone clattered. I stood slowly, chair scraping. Don't talk about my sister like that. Lydia's mouth opened, closed. Ethan was on his feet. Mira, apologize. I looked at him, then the guests. No. Chaos. Whispers turned to murmurs. Someone filmed. By morning, clips were everywhere. Hawthorne heiress slaps, sister-in-law at gala dinner. Forums exploded. Is the perfect family cracking? Lydia posted a tearful story. Hate comes from jealousy? Pray for her. But the comments weren't buying it anymore. Ethan dragged me to the study after the last guest left. Door slammed. He loomed over me, breath hot. You embarrassed me, in front of the board. I backed up until the desk hit my hips. She called me unstable. You are unstable, he shouted. Kneel, now. I knelt. The carpet burned my knees. He grabbed the manual, shoved it at me. Read Rule 9. Out loud. I took it, hands steady. The recorder in my pocket was running. Clipped to my bra earlier, voice activated. I read, soft and clear. If the husband is disappointed, the wife must punish herself with 24 hours of silence. Again. I read it again, and again, until his rage cooled into satisfaction. He yanked me up by the arm, fingers digging in. You'll stay silent until I say, no food, no phone, nothing. I nodded, eyes down, but inside, I was screaming victory. He locked me in the bedroom. I waited until his footsteps faded, then pulled the recorder out, files intact. I added the slap audio, the dinner whispers, Lydia's unstable jab. Then I made copies, 3 USBs, encrypted, labeled only with dates. The next day, the press camped outside the gates. Hawthorne family meltdown? Lydia's brand lost 3 sponsors. Margaret canceled interviews. Ethan raged in board meetings. I played the perfect silent wife. No words, no eye contact, just obedience. At 2:14 a.m., I slipped out in a staff hoodie, walked to the mailbox at the end of the drive. The envelope was plain, no return address. Inside, one USB wrapped in tissue, addressed to the Securities Commission, Attention, Fraud Division. I dropped it in. The metal lid clanged shut like a starting gun. Back in bed, I stared at the ceiling. The 50th anniversary gala was in 4 days. Invites already sent. Media booked. The stage was set. They had no idea the curtain was about to fall. Dawn crept in slow, the kind of gray-pink light that makes everything look bruised. I stood in front of the bedroom mirror, silver gown laid across the chaise like a corpse. My phone was propped on the vanity, final video file uploading to the Hawthorne Grand Ballroom's AV server. 87%, 91%. I practiced Mira's smile in the glass, lips together, eyes wide. The one that said, "Please don't hit me without words." My reflection looked breakable. Good, that's what they expected. 98%, 100%. Upload complete. I wiped the app, cleared the cache, powered down. The clutch on the bed was small, silver, matching the dress. I slid the phone inside, then the backup drive, just in case. My hands didn't shake, not anymore. The mansion was already stirring. Staff voices echoed up the marble stairs, florists unloading orchids by the crate. I slipped into the gown. Silk slid over my skin like water. Lydia had chosen it. High neck, long sleeves, no back until the waist. Modest. Trapped. I zipped it myself, fingers steady. Downstairs, Ethan was in his tux, barking orders at the event coordinator. He saw me on the landing and smiled, that perfect, predatory smile. "There's my wife. You look perfect." I floated down the stairs, heels clicking soft. "Thank you." Margaret appeared, tablet in hand, eyes scanning me like a barcode. Posture, shoulders back, no slouching tonight. Lydia swept in, phone live. "Morning glow check, Hawthorns. Mira's wearing the anniversary collection. Elegance in motion." She spun me for the camera. "Say hi, Mira." "Hi," I whispered. Comments exploded. "Stunning." "Goals." "She looks tired, though." We rode in the limo, Ethan's hand on my knee the whole way. Lydia filmed stories. Margaret reviewed the speech. I stared out the window at the ocean, cliffs blurring past. My heart was steady. Tonight, everything ended. The Hawthorne Grand Ballroom was a fever dream. Crystal chandeliers dripped light onto white linen and gold-rimmed plates. 500 guests, senators, CEOs, influencers with ring lights. Press lined the red carpet, flashes popping like gunfire. Ethan waved, arm around my waist. "Smile, baby." I did. Mira's smile. Inside, the air smelled of orchids and money. Waiters circulated with champagne. I took a flute, held it without sipping. Ethan clinked glasses with investors. 50 years of excellence, he toasted. Laughter, applause. We sat at the head table, Lydia to my left, Margaret to Ethan's right. The MC, a network anchor in a tux, took the stage. "Before we begin, a special tribute to the Hawthorne legacy." Lights dimmed. The massive screen descended from the ceiling. Guests hushed. Phones up. Countdown appeared. 10, 9. Ethan squeezed my hand. "This is our moment." 8, 7. I felt the recorder in my clutch. Still running, just in case. 6, 5. Lydia leaned over. "Don't mess this up." 4, 3. The screen flickered, not the polished tribute. Black. Gasps. Then Margaret's face. Giant. Cold. "Kneel until dessert." Video of Mira on the dining room marble, wine pooling red. My voice, small, trembling. "I'm sorry." The room went dead. Next, Lydia's phone zooming in. "Grace under pressure, ladies. Our etiquette goals." Another clip. Ethan drunk in the bedroom. "Read Rule 9. Again." My voice, flat. "If the husband is disappointed, the wife must punish herself with 24 hours of silence." Gasps turned to murmurs. A woman dropped her fork. The screen kept going. Wire transfers, millions to Coral Shell Ltd, Caymans. Ethan's voice on the call. Route it through the charity. She's too scared to notice. Demerit charts flashed. -1, -2, -5. Forged psych reports. Delusional. Recommend inpatient. My slap at the dinner party. Crack echoing. Lydia's shocked face. Audio layered. Ethan shouting, "You're embarrassing me." Margaret, "Unstable." Lydia, "Clumsy little thing." The loop started again. I stood. The gown shimmered under the chandeliers. Ethan's face was ash. He lunged across the table, champagne spilling, crystal shattering. "Turn it off. Now." Security hesitated. Phones were out. Everyone filming. He grabbed for the mic I'd snatched from the MC's trembling hand. His fingers closed on my wrist, grinding bone. Pain shot up my arm. I didn't flinch. Voice calm, clear, into the mic. "Touch me, Ethan, and every file goes to the SEC and every major paper in the country." He froze. The room held its breath. Cameras zoomed closer. I stepped back, mic steady. "This is your legacy. Not excellence, control, fraud, abuse." Margaret was on her feet, tablet clattering. "Mira, stop this insanity." "It's not Mira." I nodded to the screen. My final slide. The SEC receipt. USB received. Case opened. Then my real ID. Clara Hawthorne, forensic accountant, twin. The room erupted. "Twin? Who's Mira?" "Fraud." Ethan lunged again, face twisted. "You bitch." I sidestepped, held up my phone. Live streaming to every outlet, every social platform. "Smile, Ethan. You're trending." He backed off, hands up, defeat in his eyes. Margaret screamed at security. "Shut it down." But the AV guy, bribed earlier with a promise of a new life, was gone. The loop played on. Investors bolted. Board members dialed lawyers. Lydia's face crumpled as her phone buzzed. Sponsors pulling out. Live. Sirens wailed outside. Red and blue lights flashed through the windows. The SEC, FBI. Someone had called. I stood in the center, gown catching the strobing lights, and spoke into the mic one last time. Abuse doesn't always leave bruises. Sometimes it leaves silence. Tonight, we break it. The screen flashed my last message. Justice isn't revenge. It's light. Then it went black. Chaos swallowed the room. Press swarmed. "Clara, where's the real Mira?" Ethan, comment on the laundering? Margaret, the psych files, are they forged? Security finally moved, but not for me. They cuffed Ethan as he shouted my name. Margaret was escorted out, tablet confiscated. Lydia sobbed into her phone, makeup streaking. I walked through the madness, heels steady on the marble. A reporter blocked my path. "Clara Hawthorne, how long have you been impersonating your sister?" I smiled. Mira's smile, but stronger. "Long enough." Outside, the night air hit like freedom. Helicopters circled overhead. Paparazzi screamed questions. I slipped into the waiting town car, prearranged, driver paid in cash. As we pulled away, I watched the ballroom windows glow with flashing lights. The empire was crumbling, brick by brick, but one headline was already trending. "Where is the real Mira Hawthorne?" My phone buzzed. Unknown number. One text. "They're looking for me. M." I smiled for real this time. The hunt was on, and I was ready. 3:14 a.m. The safe house was a cracked motel room 2 towns over, neon vacancy sign buzzing through the thin curtains. I sat on the lumpy bed in jeans and a hoodie, fireproof case open like a treasure chest of their sins, hard drives stacked neat, USBs labeled in my handwriting. The manual of obedience sealed in a plastic bag so the ink wouldn't smear. The TV flickered mute on the local news. Hawthorne Empire in freefall. Choppers circled the mansion 3 miles north, searchlights carving the cliffs like they were hunting a fugitive. I wasn't running. Not yet. My burner phone vibrated with alerts I didn't open. I knew the headlines by heart. Ethan Hawthorne, arrested at estate. Money laundering? Fraud. Grainy footage looped. Federal agents in windbreakers leading him out in cuffs, tux shirt untucked, face blank as a mask. No smirk now. Bail hearing at dawn. Denied. The judge called him a flight risk. Good. I zipped the case, clicked the locks. Mira was safe. That was the only number that mattered. She'd landed in Glasgow 3 weeks ago, taken a bus north to a village with no cell towers. New name on a forged passport, job at a used bookstore, cash under the table, no social media, no credit cards. I'd wired her enough to disappear for a year. But the world was looking for her now, and I was the only thing standing between her and the spotlight. The first tabloid bomb dropped at 3:27 a.m., a blurry still from the gala exit cams. Me in the silver gown, hair loose, sliding into the town car. Caption screaming across every site. Fake Mira flees. Where is the real wife? By 3:45 it was viral. Forums dissected the angle of my chin. The way I didn't wave. Is she the victim or the villain? How long was the switch? Someone posted our childhood photos, side by side. Mira age 10, me age 10. Same gap-toothed grin. The comments were brutal. I muted the phone, rubbed my eyes. The hunt was on, and I was the decoy. Dawn came slow, gray light leaking through the curtains. I showered fast, changed into nondescript clothes, paid the clerk in 20s, drove to a diner off the highway, hood up, ordered coffee black. The TV above the counter showed Margaret next. Boardroom footage, security flanking her as she left the Hawthorne Holdings tower. Her navy suit was perfect, but her mouth was a thin line. Voiceover. Matriarch ousted in emergency vote, effective immediately. She'd held that seat for 30 years. Now it was gone. Her statement outside the building. These are vicious lies. My family will fight. But the board didn't wait. 11-0. They'd seen the psych files, the demerit charts. They wanted distance. I sipped the coffee, bitter and hot. Lydia's collapse was quieter, but faster. By 7:12 a.m., flight trackers lit up. Her private jet, tail number N707LH, took off from a private airstrip 30 miles south. Paparazzi caught her on the tarmac. Oversized sunglasses, trench coat, passport clutched like a lifeline. Caption: Lydia Hawthorne flees abroad amid abuse probe. Destination: unconfirmed, but rumors said Dubai, then maybe Switzerland. Her brand imploded overnight. Flagship store on Rodeo Drive shuttered by 9 a.m. Windows papered. Sponsors bailed in a cascade. Cosmetics, jewelry, even the activewear line. Her last post was a black square at 4:03 a.m. Caption deleted within minutes. The empire was ash. But the scrutiny on me was a living thing. Reporters staked out my old apartment in the city, my forensic accounting office, even the cemetery where our parents were buried. Drones buzzed overhead. One headline looped on every channel: Clara Hawthorne, hero, hoax, or accomplice. They dug up my college transcripts, an old parking ticket, a photo from a charity 5K where I'd smiled too wide. Where is the real Mira? Is she dead? Kidnapped? In hiding? I paid the diner bill, left through the back, switched cars, twice, rental, then a borrowed pickup from a contact who owed me. The pressure was a vice. Mira's safety depended on my silence, my misdirection. One slip, one photo of her face, and they'd never let her breathe again. Afternoon, I ditched the truck near the cliffs, walked the public beach below the mansion. Police tape fluttered across the gates up above, windows dark. The roses were already wilting, no one left to prune them. I stood at the water's edge, wind whipping salt into my face, footprints filled and vanished behind me. Temporary, like everything they'd built. My burner rang once. Unknown number. I answered on the third ring. Clara. Mira's voice, low, careful, Scottish lilt creeping in. I saw Ethan, in cuffs, on the news in the shop. You're not supposed to watch. I know, but is it over? Almost. I glanced over my shoulder. No tales. Stay dark. No calls. They're saying I'm dead, or that you killed me. Let them. Keeps you invisible. A pause. Wind howled through the line. I miss you. I miss you too. 2 more days. I hung up, crushed the SIM, tossed it into the waves. The scrutiny was suffocating, but it was working. They were chasing ghosts. Night fell hard. I was in another motel, this one inland, fluorescent lights humming, TV off. I sat on the bed, case beside me, rehearsing tomorrow. The lawyer, the evidence drop, the letter, knock, soft, 3 taps, pause, 2 more. I froze. Hand slid under the pillow. Gun, cold and heavy. Mira's old piece, unregistered, cleaned twice. Another knock. Clara, open up. I cracked the door. Chain still on. Mira stood in the shadows, hood up, face half hidden. Thinner, but eyes clear. No fear. She reached through the gap, fingers finding mine. I couldn't stay away, she whispered. Not after everything. I unhooked the chain, pulled her inside. The door shut with a soft click. For the first time in months, we were in the same room, breathing the same air. She dropped the hood. Hair shorter, dyed darker. They'll never stop looking. They will, I said. After tomorrow. She looked at the case. Everything? Everything. We sat on the bed, knees touching. The war wasn't over, but we had one last play. Legal, airtight, permanent, and this time, we'd write the ending. 8:57 a.m. The law firm sat in a quiet brick building downtown, away from the glass towers and the ocean glare. Inside, the air was cool, lemon polish sharp under the scent of old books. Mahogany panels soaked up the light from a single tall window. Mr. Hargrove, silver hair, navy suit, the Hawthorne family's attorney since before I was born, sat behind the desk like a judge who already knew the verdict. I wore a plain white blouse, dark jeans, hair in a low knot. No jewelry, no role to play, just Clara. Mira waited in the rental car outside, engine idling, baseball cap pulled low. We'd taken 3 different routes to lose any tails. No one followed. Not today. I slid the thick manila envelope across the desk. It landed with a heavy, final thud. Originals, I said. Hard drives, paper trails, the manual of obedience, sealed, dated, chain of custody, logged on every page. Criminal cases proceed. Civil suit dies here. Hargrove opened the flap, slow, like it might bite. His fingers, steady from decades of signing billion-dollar deals, paused over the USBs. He pulled one out, held it to the light. This ends the counterclaims. Completely. I leaned forward, elbows on my knees. I'm withdrawing all personal claims. No settlement, no deposition, no book. The DOJ, SEC, FBI, they keep what they have. Ethan answers for fraud. Margaret for the forgery, Lydia for the rest. But the family's lawsuit against me and Mira? Buried today. He set the drive down, adjusted his glasses. Ethan's counsel will scream obstruction. Let them scream into a void. I tapped the envelope. This is the void. Silence stretched. Outside, gulls wheeled over the harbor. He exhaled through his nose, a sound like surrender. And this? He pulled a single cream sheet from my side pocket. Folded once, my handwriting neat and final. Public letter, I said. Release it at noon. Every wire, every network, every blog. No embargo. He unfolded it. His eyes tracked the lines slow, lips moving just slightly. I watched his face, the flicker when he hit certain words. I'd written it at 3 a.m. in the motel, pen scratching like it was carving stone. Read it, I said, out loud. He cleared his throat, voice low at first, then stronger. To the public, the press, and every woman who watched the gala and felt something crack inside. My name is Clara Hawthorne. For 112 days, I lived as my twin sister Mira inside a house that looked like a palace and felt like a prison. I ate 400-calorie plates while hidden cameras graded every bite. I knelt on marble for dropping a wine glass. I read rules aloud until my voice gave out. Rules written by a husband who believed silence was obedience. I found the money. Millions funneled through fake charities while children's hospitals begged. I found the file labeling Mira unstable, forged by doctors she'd never met. I carried the proof because she couldn't. Because someone had to. This was never about revenge. It was about light, about proving that abuse doesn't need fists to destroy a person. It just needs time, isolation, and a system that looks away. Ethan Hawthorne will face prison for his crimes. Margaret and Lydia will answer for theirs. That is the law's work. Mine ends here. No interviews, no fame, no victory lap. If you are reading this and you are afraid, if your meals are weighed, your words counted, your sleep photographed, know this. You are not crazy. You are not alone. Reach out. Speak. The Mirror Foundation opens next month. Legal aid, therapy, financial rescue for women trapped in invisible cages. Justice isn't revenge. It's making sure no woman like Mira ever has to be afraid again. Clara Hawthorne. His voice cracked hard on, "No woman like Mira." He paused, swallowed, then folded the letter with trembling finality. The paper creased sharp, like a blade. He slid it into a fresh envelope, sealed it with a strip of tape. "Noon," he confirmed. "Every outlet gets it simultaneously." I nodded. "Tell Ethan's team the war's over. Tell the press I vanished." He didn't ask where, just stood, offered his hand. I shook it. Firm, quick. Then I was out the door, sunlight hitting my face like freedom. Mira lowered her window as I approached the car. "Done?" "Done." I slid into the passenger seat. She pulled away, smooth, no rush. We drove in silence to the community center. Beige brick, no glamour, folding chairs already set up in the courtyard. Reporters milled, cameras ready. We parked 2 blocks away, walked in through the side gate. 11:58 a.m. The letter dropped. Phones buzzed in pockets, screens lit up. Headlines rewrote themselves in real time. Clara Hawthorne ends suit, calls for healing, not hate. No woman like Mira. Twins' letter goes viral. Comments flooded. Women posting photos of their own demerit charts, meal logs, silent treatment calendars. No woman like Mira trended in 12 countries. Noon sharp. Mira stepped to the podium. Plain gray dress, hair loose, no makeup. She looked like herself again. The girl who used to steal my hoodies and laugh until soda came out her nose. Cameras flashed, but her hands didn't shake. "I'm Mira Hawthorne," she said, voice clear over the microphones. The real one. For 3 years, I was told I was broken, too clumsy, too emotional, too much. I believed it. I shrank to fit the rules. Today, I'm starting the Mirror Foundation. We open in 30 days. Legal aid for women fighting forged medical records, therapy for gaslighting survivors, financial planning to escape accounts you don't control, donations welcome, silence ends here. Questions exploded. "Where were you? Are you suing? Will you testify?" She answered 3, calm and brief. "I was healing. No lawsuit. The evidence speaks." Then she stepped back. No tears, no drama, just truth. After, we slipped out the back, drove to the cliffs where the mansion used to loom. Now it was empty, windows boarded, police tape sagging in the wind. We sat on the hood of the car, legs dangling, salt air thick. The rage I'd carried, like molten lead in my veins, had cooled into something solid. Not hate, purpose. I'd won by walking away, by giving the fight to the system, to the women who'd carry it forward. Mira picked at a thread on her sleeve, voice soft. Can we ever live normal again? I looked at the ocean. Endless, unbroken. A quiet seaside life waited. Small white house, garden in the back, maybe a dog that didn't care about posture. Or the foundation would grow. Offices in 10 cities, hotlines ringing, a new mission pulling us into the current. I took her hand, squeezed once. We'll find out together. The sun climbed higher. Somewhere, a new story was beginning. 7:03 a.m. The Seaside Cafe was our new ritual, tucked at the end of the old pier where the wood creaked under every step and the salt wind slipped through open windows like an old friend who never needed an invitation. Sunlight poured in golden sheets, catching on the chipped mugs and the steam curling from Mira's untouched coffee. She had a napkin spread flat on the table, pencil moving in soft, sure strokes, 2 interlocking M's shaped like open hands, the Mirror Foundation logo taking form. Her hair was loose, sun-bleached ends brushing her shoulders, and for the first time in years, her fingers didn't tremble when they held the pencil. I sat across from her, legs stretched under the table, watching the way the light hit her face. No makeup, no forced smile, just Mira. Sky. Mira's 4-year-old. Luckily, the Hawthorne family still had some humanity. Although they didn't let Sky see Mira, they raised her in a private villa and took good care of her. I haven't seen her for so long that I forgot I had a niece, all wild curls and blueberry stains, was wedged between us on the bench, legs swinging high above the floor. She had commandeered every crayon the waitress slipped her way and turned a paper placemat into a masterpiece. The ocean outside slapped the pilings in a steady heartbeat. Gulls wheeled overhead, crying like they were late for something important. Mira glanced up, caught my stare. "Stop it." "Stop what?" Looking at me like I'm gonna vanish. I smiled, soft. "Can't help it. You look whole." She rolled her eyes, but the corners of her mouth lifted, went back to sketching. The logo was simple, elegant even. No thorns, no locks, just hands reaching. Sky shoved her drawing across the table with sticky fingers. "Mommy, Aunt Clara, look." 2 stick-figure women stood under a blazing yellow sun, hands clasped tight. One wore a red dress with a crooked crown, the other blue jeans and a ponytail. Wobbly blue waves curled at their feet. Sky pointed, proud. "That's you and Mommy. You're holding hands so nobody falls in the water." Mira's breath caught. She set the pencil down, finger tracing the crayon lines slow, like she was touching hope itself. The red dress figure had a tiny smiley face inside the crown. "We won't fall," she whispered. "Not ever again." I ruffled Sky's curls. "Artist of the Year." Sky beamed, grabbed a purple crayon, added stars above the sun. The cafe hummed quiet. Just the clatter of spoons, the hiss of the espresso machine, the low murmur of fishermen at the counter. No cameras, no trackers, no demerit charts. We'd rented the little white house 2 blocks back 6 months ago. Peeling paint, creaky porch swing, garden overrun with rosemary and wild mint. Sky had a tire swing tied to the oak. Mira had a sunroom where she sketched logos at dawn. I had the back bedroom and a folding desk stacked with foundation spreadsheets. Normal felt foreign, like borrowed clothes, but we were learning the fit. Mira pushed her coffee aside, took a whole pancake instead of cutting it into perfect squares, bit in, syrup dripping down her chin. Laughed when Sky copied her. I watched the old habit die right there, small, quiet, revolutionary. Outside, the new Mirror Foundation banner snapped in the breeze. White fabric, teal logo, letters, bold, mirror foundation, reflect, heal, rise. The wind caught it, rustled the edges, sent sunlight scattering in bright shards across the pier. Like a vow, spoken without words. Healing wasn't fireworks. It was this: sticky fingers, cold coffee, a child's drawing of two women who refused to let go. Some mornings I still woke reaching for the recorder under the pillow, heart racing at shadows. Mira still flinched at loud voices, but the flinches were fewer. The nights, quieter. We were learning to live again. Not just survive. To laugh without checking who might be watching. To eat without counting calories. To sleep without cameras blinking red in the dark. Sky yawned, climbed into Mira's lap. Story? Mira kissed her forehead, voice soft. Once upon a time, two sisters lived in a castle made of lies. The walls were high, the doors locked, and every word was weighed on a golden scale. But the sisters found a crack in the wall. I leaned back, sun warm on my face. The rage that used to burn hot and constant had cooled into embers, manageable, useful. Ethan's appeals were denied. Margaret's assets, frozen. Lydia's brand, a ghost. The foundation had 3 offices now, hotlines ringing off the hook, women walking out of invisible cages with nothing but a backpack and a phone number. Mira finished the story. Happy ending. No kneeling. Sky clapped, demanded pancakes for the princesses. The waitress brought more without asking. We paid, walked the pier hand in hand. Sky between us, swinging high. The banner fluttered behind, light dancing off the fabric. A quiet seaside life? Maybe. Or the mission would grow. 10 cities, 20, a global web of hands reaching back. The wind carried the banner's rustle like a promise kept. Light reflects, and it grows. Hey, you. Yeah, you, the one who's been with me through every part of this story. Did you like it? What city are you from? Drop it in the comments. I read every single one. If this story moved you, hit that super thanks button so I can keep telling stories like this. Real, raw, from the heart. Your support means everything. Thank you, truly, for being here. On screen, you'll see 2 new real-life stories I highly recommend. Women who broke free, just like Mira. There are dozens more on my channel. Don't forget to subscribe. Turn on notifications. See you in the next one. With all love and respect.